Hello and welcome to the Climbing Mount Fuji channel. Today, we'll talk about how much time it takes to climb Mount Fuji. By watching this video, you'll learn the following points. How much time it takes for each climbing route. The main features of each route. Why the time it takes can vary. On this channel, we share useful information for those who have no experience in mountain climbing or beginners who are planning to climb Mount Fuji. Please stay with us until the end of the video. Firstly, there are several routes to climb Mount Fuji. The required time for climbing varies depending on the route and the starting point of the climb. As the time required changes, so does the mindset and the necessary preparations for the climb. So, let's go over them in this video. There are 4 main starting points for climbing Mount Fuji, each with its own route. The recommended routes for beginners are the Yoshida route, Yamanashi side, Subashiri route, Shizuoka side, and Fujinomiya route, Shizuoka side. Let's discuss the features and time required for each route. The Yoshida route of Mount Fuji has good access to the trailhead from the Tokyo, which starts from the end of the Fuji-Subaru line. In fact, about half of the people who attempt to climb Mount Fuji choose the Yoshida route, making it suitable for beginners. By the way, it is said that about 50% of people climbing Mount Fuji are beginners. The Yoshida route has the most shops, first aid stations, and mountain huts among the 4 routes, making it safe for beginners. However, because many people climb this route, it tends to be crowded, and congestion at the summit during sunrise is inevitable. For beginners, the time required to ascend the Yoshida route is approximately 6 to 7 hours from the 5th station to the summit. There are 11 mountain huts on the ascent. On the other hand, it is possible to descend in about 4 hours, but there are few mountain huts, so caution is required. Also, many people hurt their knees as they descend a very long and steep zigzag road, so it is recommended to bring a trekking pole. A typical plan is to start climbing at noon on the first day, stay at a mountain hut, and return by noon on the second day. If you are somewhat accustomed to mountain climbing, you can start climbing in the early morning and return in the afternoon or evening, making a day trip possible. However, this may be difficult for beginners who are not accustomed to mountain walking. The Subashiri route of Mount Fuji is a route that starts climbing from the east side of Mount Fuji, and the starting point is at a lower altitude than the Yoshida and Fujinomiya routes, starting from an altitude of approximately 2,000 meters. The characteristic feature of this route is that you proceed through the forest from the front of the Kamatake shrine near the 5th station. There are mountain huts approximately every 30 to 60 minutes, and toilets are available. On the other hand, one thing to note for the descent is that you will follow the same route as the ascent up to around the 8th station, but then you will descend a different route. The characteristic of the descent is that the road turns into gravel from the 7th station, and you can experience a few hundred meters of sandy running. However, be careful as it is easy to trip over. Also, around the 6th station, it becomes completely dark at night, so if you are descending from the vicinity of the 6th station in the evening or later, you will need a light. For beginners, the time required for the ascent is approximately 7 to 8 hours, and the descent takes about 5 hours. Compared to the other routes, the starting point is at a slightly lower altitude, so the distance is slightly longer and the time required for both the ascent and descent is about 1 hour longer than the Yoshida route. Therefore, unless you are accustomed to mountain walking, it is difficult to make a day trip. The Fujinomiya route is a course that starts climbing from the south side of Mount Fuji. The 5th station is at an altitude of about 2,400 meters, which is higher than the other routes. Although the distance is short, the trail as a whole has steep slopes, and there are more rocky areas from around the 6th station. Also, because the ascent and descent follow the same path, you will need to yield to others. However, there are mountain huts every 30 to 60 minutes, so even beginners can climb as long as they are careful of steep slopes and rocky areas. The ascent course is the shortest of the 3 courses, and beginners can reach the summit in approximately 6 to 6.5 hours. The descent course can be descended in about 4 to 4.5 hours. Although it is the most day trip friendly mountain, it may still be difficult for beginners who have not practiced. There is inevitably a range in the required time. The reason can be summed up as individual differences, but to explain it in more detail, the impression changes in the ascent due to cardiorespiratory capacity and the severity of altitude sickness symptoms. If you overpace, you will become breathless and the symptoms of altitude sickness will become severe, so it is important to walk at a pace where you can converse. On the other hand, there is often a larger difference in the descent, downhill, than in the ascent. The reason is knee pain caused by insufficient muscle strength. There are many people who find it painful to take a single step when descending the mountain. On the other hand, people who walk a lot can easily descend, and even beginners can descend the Yoshida route in 2 hours, while some people take 6 hours if their knees hurt. Considering the above situations, make sure to have a flexible schedule and be well prepared. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or inquiries about Mount Fuji climbing, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. We would be happy to assist you.